Imagine waking up 200,000 years ago. No cities, no houses, no electricity. Just endless wilderness stretching into the horizon, where survival isn't guaranteed and every sound in the night could mean life or death. Would you make it through a single day in a world where humans were not rulers of the planet, but just another vulnerable species struggling to survive? Picture yourself 200,000 years ago, waking up to the chill of morning air. There's no warm breakfast waiting, no stocked fridge, just hunger gnawing at your stomach. For early humans, food wasn't just about eating, it was about survival, and every single day was a battle to find it. Our ancestors relied heavily on foraging. They gathered wild berries, nuts, roots, and edible plants. But here's the catch: not everything in nature was safe. One wrong choice, one poisonous root, and survival ended instantly. Knowledge of the land wasn't optional. It was life or death. Families passed down this wisdom through experience, trial, and often tragic error. Welcome to Before Flame. Fire. If you enjoyed traveling back in time with me, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss the next journey into our ancient past. But plants could only go so far. To truly thrive, early humans turned to hunting. They didn't have bows or arrows yet. Instead, they crafted simple but deadly tools from sharpened stones and wooden spears. Imagine a small hunting band working together, stalking prey across vast grasslands. A successful hunt meant days of food and fat for warmth. A failed hunt? It meant hunger and weakness, making survival even harder. Meat wasn't just nourishment, it was energy, protein, and a chance to live another week. But hunting wasn't easy. Prey animals were strong, fast, and often dangerous. Chasing down a wild antelope or fending off a boar required not just strength but cooperation. Alone, a human was fragile. Together, with strategy and teamwork, survival became possible. The cycle was relentless: forage, hunt, eat, rest, repeat. And in this rhythm of survival, humans slowly honed the instincts, tools, and social bonds that would set them apart from every other creature on Earth. Survival 200,000 years ago wasn't just about finding food, it was about avoiding becoming food. Early humans lived in a world where they weren't the top predator. Lions, leopards, saber-toothed cats, and even packs of hyenas saw humans as easy prey. Without strong weapons or safe shelters, every step outside the safety of the group carried risk. Imagine sitting around a fire at night, hearing growls in the darkness. The flickering flames kept some animals at bay, but not all. A predator could strike at any moment, and vigilance was constant. Children had to be watched closely, elders protected, and hunters always alert. Fear wasn't just an emotion, it was a survival tool. But predators weren't the only challenge. Nature itself was ruthless. Freezing winters, sudden droughts, violent storms, these weren't inconveniences, they were killers. A long drought meant no water, no plants, no prey. A brutal winter could wipe out entire groups if they weren't prepared with enough food, firewood, and shelter. And speaking of shelter, there were no cozy houses or permanent villages. Early humans sought refuge in caves, beneath rock overhangs, or in makeshift huts made from branches and animal hides. These offered protection, but only temporarily. Movement was constant. When resources ran out, the group had to move, carrying children, tools, and whatever little they owned. It's easy to forget, but every single day was a gamble. One misstep could mean death from hunger, predators, or the elements. And yet, somehow, our ancestors endured. They didn't just survive, they adapted, and in doing so, they laid the foundation for us to be here today. In a world this dangerous, no human could survive alone. What truly set our ancestors apart was not just their ability to hunt or make tools, it was their ability to cooperate. Survival depended on the strength of the group. Every person, no matter how young or old, had a role to play. Hunters provided meat, gatherers collected plants, berries, and roots, and the elderly shared wisdom, knowledge of migration paths, safe water sources, or how to recognize edible plants. Children, though vulnerable, were the future of the group and carefully protected. This sense of shared responsibility forged powerful bonds. Think about it. When predators lurked in the dark, a single pair of eyes wasn't enough. The entire group worked together, taking turns keeping watch. When food was scarce, sharing became essential, not because of kindness, but because one weak link could endanger the whole group. Community wasn't optional. It was survival. Language, or at least the beginnings of it, likely began here too. Early humans developed ways to communicate danger, coordinate hunts, and teach skills. A warning shout, a gesture, a shared glance, all were part of the survival toolkit. Over time, these interactions built the roots of culture, traditions, and the beginnings of human society. And perhaps most importantly, they built emotional connections. Around fires, people told stories, comforted each other, and mourned their dead. They weren't just surviving physically, they were surviving together as a community. And that sense of belonging, of unity against overwhelming odds, may have been the greatest survival tool of all. If you strip away the smartphones, cars, and skyscrapers, what really defines humanity? Many scientists would argue, it's our tools. 200,000 years ago, tools weren't conveniences, they were lifelines. Without them, our ancestors would have been defenseless in a brutal world. The first tools were simple, yet revolutionary. Imagine a sharp stone chipped into a cutting edge. To us, it might look crude, but to them, it was the difference between life and death. That sharp edge could slice meat from a carcass, scrape hides into clothing, or cut wood for fire. With tools, humans expanded their options. They no longer relied on teeth and nails like other animals. Suddenly, they had a weapon, a knife, and a survival kit all in one. And the brilliance didn't stop there. Fire-hardened wooden spears allowed humans to hunt bigger game from a distance, reducing the risk of deadly encounters with animals many times their size. Bone needles made it possible to stitch hides into fitted clothing, critical for surviving freezing nights. With every innovation, humans bent the odds of survival a little further in their favor. But tools were more than objects. They represented knowledge, passed from one generation to the next. A child learned by watching an elder strike two stones together, creating sparks. They learned that shaping stone wasn't random. It required skill, patience, and practice. Every chipped edge carried thousands of years of trial, error, and memory. Tools didn't just help humans survive the present. They carried forward the wisdom of the past, ensuring that each generation stood on the shoulders of the one before. If stone tools gave us an edge, fire gave us a kingdom. For early humans 200,000 years ago, mastering fire was nothing short of a superpower. Think about it. In a world of predators, darkness, and freezing nights, fire was safety, light, and warmth all in one. But fire did more than chase away lions or hyenas lurking in the shadows. It transformed food. Before fire, raw meat was tough, chewy, and sometimes dangerous to eat. Cooking unlocked calories, softened food, and reduced disease. Some scientists even argue that cooking fire fueled the growth of the human brain. Every roasted meal wasn't just survival, it was evolution in action. And then there was the social magic of fire. Picture a group of our ancestors gathered around glowing embers, the night alive with crackling sparks. For the first time, humans had space to pause. They could tell stories, plan hunts, share knowledge. The fire circle became the first classroom, the first community hall, the first stage for human imagination. Fire also changed movement. With fire, humans could enter colder regions, expanding into new environments once thought impossible to survive. It gave them confidence to explore, to push boundaries, to claim the night as their own. Predators who once owned the dark now kept their distance from flickering flames. What's most remarkable is how fire wasn't just a tool but a mindset shift. It turned humans from vulnerable prey into daring pioneers. It made us not just survivors of the earth, but masters of it. Tools and fire didn't just change how humans survived, they changed how humans thought. Imagine this. The first time someone shaped a tool, it wasn't just about breaking a rock. It was about foresight, planning, and creativity. That spark of imagination, what if I shape this stone differently, laid the foundation for culture itself. As tools became more refined, so did cooperation. Hunting a mammoth or building a shelter wasn't a solo act. It required trust, coordination, and shared goals. The more complex the tools, the more complex the teamwork. This is where the roots of language and symbolic thought began to grow. Perhaps gestures around a campfire turned into shared signals, and signals eventually became words. And with fire lighting their nights, humans could extend their days beyond daylight. The darkness became a time for connection, storytelling, rituals, maybe even the earliest sparks of spirituality. Around those flames, our ancestors began weaving identities, passing down wisdom, and dreaming of possibilities larger than survival. What started as stone flakes and firewood soon grew into the foundations of human society. These weren't just survival strategies, they were stepping stones toward everything we now recognize as culture: art, language, community, and imagination. In a sense, the real revolution 200,000 years ago wasn't about sharper tools or brighter fires. It was about humans realizing they could shape their world, and by shaping it, shape themselves. Imagine standing on the edge of a vast plain 200,000 years ago. The sun is setting, shadows stretch long across the grass, and in the distance, the low growl of a predator echoes. You're not at the top of the food chain. Lions, hyenas, and saber-toothed cats stalk the night. For early humans, fear wasn't abstract. It was survival. Every day carried a delicate balance between caution and courage. A wrong step near a river could mean a crocodile's jaws. Lingering too long in open grasslands could bring hunters circling in the dark. Fear sharpened their senses. Every sound, every movement, every flicker of shadow mattered. But fear wasn't just a burden. It was also a teacher. It forced early humans to create strategies, keeping fires burning through the night, traveling in groups, and finding caves for shelter. It even fueled innovation: sharper weapons, stronger bonds between people, and rituals that gave them courage before hunts or long journeys. Fear also connected them emotionally. Sharing danger meant sharing trust. A scream in the dark wasn't ignored. It drew the group together, stronger, more united. Survival wasn't just about physical tools. It was about emotional resilience, the ability to stand firm in the face of danger and know you weren't facing it alone. Fear was the first great teacher of humanity, shaping instincts, bonds, and imagination. It taught us not only how to survive, but how to rely on one another, and that lesson is written deep within us even today. If fear was the force that kept early humans alive, love was the glue that kept them together. Imagine sitting around a fire 200,000 years ago, the night cold and stars blazing above. Children curl close to their mothers, hunters share food with elders, and laughter echoes in the flickering light. These weren't just survival strategies, they were acts of love, connection, and care. Kinship wasn't just biological. A tribe was a family, bound by shared struggle and trust. Caring for one another increased the odds of survival, but it also fed something deeper: the need for belonging. Humans are wired for connection, and that wiring began in these early groups. Love wasn't just about romance or family, it extended to the entire community. Consider the tenderness of a mother cradling her infant, protecting a fragile new life in a harsh world. Or the loyalty of hunters risking their lives not for themselves alone, but to bring food back to the group. These small acts of devotion weren't trivial, they were essential threads in the fabric of human survival. Even grief was an expression of love. Archaeological evidence shows early humans buried their dead with care, leaving flowers, tools, or food beside the bodies. These rituals reveal that love extended beyond life itself. The bonds they formed were so strong that even death couldn't erase them. In a world filled with danger, love gave meaning. It was the force that transformed fragile groups of individuals into resilient communities. It gave them hope, purpose, and the strength to endure. And just like fear, it remains a part of us today, a survival strategy written into our very DNA. Long before temples, holy books, or organized religion, humans were already asking the biggest questions. Who are we? Why are we here? What happens after death? Around 200,000 years ago, the answers weren't written in stone. They were whispered in stories, painted on cave walls, and etched into rituals. Picture a small group huddled beneath a starlit sky, listening to the crackle of fire. An elder raises their voice, weaving tales of spirits in the wind, ancestors watching from the mountains, or animals as sacred guides. These weren't just bedtime stories. They were tools for making sense of a mysterious, often terrifying world. Imagination gave humans an advantage no other creature possessed. It allowed them to plan for tomorrow, to envision dangers before they came, and to create meaning out of chaos. The same minds that feared predators in the dark also dreamed of powers greater than themselves, a force to protect, explain, or guide them. Burial rituals hint at this awakening of belief. When early humans placed objects beside the dead, a tool, a shell, a flower. It suggested they believed in something beyond life. That act wasn't just practical, it was spiritual. It was the seed of faith, the dawn of culture, and perhaps the first glimpse of what it meant to be truly human. This spiritual spark was more than comfort, it was unity. Shared beliefs built trust, strengthened identity, and gave tribes a reason to stand together. Imagination and belief didn't just shape their world, they created our world. Because without them, there would be no art, no faith, no civilizations, nothing that makes humanity more than survival. 200,000 years ago, life was raw, dangerous, and uncertain, yet it was also the beginning of everything that makes us human. Our ancestors carved meaning out of hardship, built families out of struggle, and found strength in imagination and belief. Their resilience shaped not only their survival but the very foundations of our world today. So when you think about those early humans, walking barefoot across savannas, facing predators, inventing fire, and whispering stories under the stars, ask yourself this: if they could survive and thrive in such a brutal world, what hidden strengths might you carry within yourself today?